the fixed star Deneb Algedi, and we get to experience that and can benefit from tapping into these times and tending into Deneb Algedi, the moon, and Eris and Andromeda constellation, which Eris is in right now, when the moon conjuncts Deneb Algedi. So we have the descendant here applying to Deneb Algedi, which is a good time to talk about this, and at the time of almost full moon. Okay, so with the sun in Aquarius, which is the sign, the tropical sign where Deneb Algedi is, and so it's a good time to reveal this information when the moon is still growing. So ascendant 20 degrees Leo with the sun 5 degrees Aquarius, moon ruling the 12th house in the first, so 4 degrees Leo, and Eris in Eris at kind of around 23 degrees, I believe. 23 degrees. Oh, we can go to the lunation. Oh, it's Saturn time. Yes, so it's already, it's not Jupiter day, but actually the day, the night of Luna. Okay. And if we want to see where Eris is, it's very simple. We just go to the full lunation, and we're talking about the full moon, and we do asteroids. So this is AstroSeek, and you can access this from any browser or cell phone that you have, and do this completely free. It's the joys provided by developers that just take the time and to do this. And this is Peter with this program. So Eris is 24 degrees Eris direct. Okay. So what is so special about these times, and why can you tap into it best when the moon is conjuncting Deneb Algedi? First things first. Deneb Algedi is a fixed star, and so the fact that something sextiles or trines it is not as strongly felt as when the moon conjuncts Deneb Algedi. So when I want to bring into the earth some energy, I look at the moon. Some astrologers even do the forecast by the moon transits. Okay, and it's a very good approach because the moon is kind of igniting a certain energy. However, just looking at transits and understanding the moon will go and trigger these transits very likely is also an approach. And so, but for the fixed star, we do want the moon applying to the fixed star in conjunction. Okay? And that is where, or the ascendant or the midheaven, and that is where we get the influence of the fixed star. Okay, the fixed star, it's not really fixed, but it moves so slowly that we call it fixed. And we can draw it in best by the moon, always something conjuncts it. Now, as for Eris, Eris is a planet. Okay, and you might hear me accentuating this. No, I don't think Pluto is not a planet, and I don't think Eris is not a planet. And I operate and I do my readings in that way. And I find this to be incredibly useful so far. And you ask what is the difference? Well, with an asteroid, except for maybe Chiron, normally you would expect it to, if it's a personal planet, you would expect it to interact in conjunctions, okay? Like more like a fixed star with some maybe a little bit bigger orb. But with the planet, you are getting the influence whenever something aspects, especially hard aspects, this planet. Eris is by all means a planet. Okay? So, but then again, if you look at the Pluto trine in Sedna, of course, you cannot ignore the influence, and that's for another video. So for Eris, because she is a planet, then it's enough for the moon to create an aspect with Eris for us to tap into Eris energy. Okay? Now, when we want to enjoy the fact that Eris is sextile in a fixed star, in this case, Deneb Algedi, and I'm going to talk about the meaning and why and how it can be benefic, how we can not profit, but more like for some profit, but more like tap into these energies in their upright form, and also what we can expect to see on a mundane level to do with that, which might not be as magical. Okay, so I want us to be informed, but also tap into the benefit, the benefic that we can tap into it. And that is when the moon sextiles, when Eris sextiles Deneb Algedi, and we can get that when the moon crosses and conjuncts Deneb Algedi best, because then the moon is sextile in both. It's both sextile in Eris and applying to Deneb Algedi. We can tap into the wisdom of Eris, which is not so easy to tap into because she's rootless. Okay, she's been excluded. At the time where being excluded was basically being left out in the cold to whatever, and her only way to that she can see from her vantage point to take her place back is to create chaos within those who are closer to the plate. Is to get everybody to fight with everybody, and she is ruthless. And so we definitely see all violence associated. This is why when we talk about Eris, we definitely want to tap into the energy with some sort of a guardianship, okay? With some sort of like, hey, we want to be inclusive of Eris, and we want to understand that Eris has something to say here that we need to integrate and we need to listen to, and we want to be safe while integrating this energy, okay? So one way to, at the times where Eris is sextile in Deneb Algedi, we have a complementary relationship between Eris trying to break in and cause, and she only has the card of chaos to her, okay? She throws out an apple, golden apple, puts it, some people say there is a K, and some people say, that it was a golden apple, it was written to the fairest, and so all the beautiful goddesses kind of were fighting, and then she put the Trojan horse, and it causes the War of Troy. So it's basically sneaking in to where everybody is accepted and then causing havoc, okay? And it's described as an act of vengeance, but there are also certain things that happen at the time of chaos. For example, when everybody's killing everybody, and Eris knows what's going to, like, that they're going to be chaotic, then it's not just she takes pleasure at, this is how it's been told, she takes pleasure at watching them suffer. Yes, how does she take pleasure at watching them suffer? Okay, she's benefiting from that. She can eat now. She can get housing now. She can get all kinds of things that weren't accessible to her before. So it's not like she's watching them suffer for the sake of watching them suffer. It's that she's been excluded from society and now she is included, okay? And so we want to be very tender with this energy, because as the chaos happens, her rage can decrease. I'm saying decreases, she's on Andromeda constellation, but her rage decreases because now she is more included. okay? And so to tap into the energy of Eris and so to sort of allow the rage of being uninvited. And sometimes it's a word that somebody said to touch on somebody's wound, and everybody has Eris somewhere. And it's not just external, it's not just internal. Okay? And so this is a time where we get to see Eris performing in complementary to the star Deneb Algedi. And Deneb Algedi is about the outcast and protecting the outcast, as well as wealth redistribution. Okay? It's other things as well, and I'll touch on those. But I want to touch on the upright first. Okay, so the upright for Eris is becoming a society that is more inclusive for various identities in Eris. And for Deneb Algedi, the upright is about distributing wealth so that it's distributed to humanity, and so having more equity, having more, how should I say it? Everybody gets to enjoy the wealth, and so it will protect your stuff if you need to be in a certain sensitive position, okay? But also it will show you how and where to steal if this is what you need. Okay, if you have to steal food or you will starve, it might show you of who to steal from, that they have plenty, and you can, either steal for yourselves. It's not like, how do you say this? It's not just stealing for yourself and sharing with other people. Sometimes it's just because you will not survive if you won't eat, and you have to, to steal food. So Deneb Algedi can show you where and how to do this in a way that is minimizing the damages, okay, and supporting you on your path, and so authenticity can go a long way here. It's also a portal through which you can meet Saturn better. And I don't remember honestly if I got this from Christopher Warnock or from Caitlin from Sphere and Sundry. I think Christopher Warnock. And if you have Saturn as malefic out of sect, like me, okay, the sun below the horizon, then Deneb Algedi can be a good way to tap into Saturn's energy, both the protective, the karmatic, okay, understanding the implications of your actions and making good decisions in a way that's easier, more accessible for you through the fixed star. It has the nature of Saturn and Jupiter. I think so, yes. So, yes, Deneb Algedi is also a planet of sacrifice. I don't remember where I saw this. I think it is a channel that dedicates to wormwood and the magic done with wormwood. I will have to link it. So please write me in the comments so I will look for this because this is not something I figured by myself. So it's the sacrifice star, and unfortunately sacrifices, also blood sacrifices, are made to rising Deneb Algedi, and unfortunately still made, even though you can usually use hibiscus or for those who work with menstrual blood or secretion or anything that is non-harmful and would still serve as what people used for as blood sacrifice. Okay, I talk about it in other places. This whole issue of mutilation or sacrifice or stuff like this is usually more our limited view as humans than coming from the gods. And if you read the Bible and the Yitzhak story, you really see how the God is basically doesn't get why Abraham or Abram back then wanting to have a physical sacrifice both on his body and is ready to sacrifice his child, and then he stops Abraham and he says, please, I don't need this. And Abraham insists on a physical imprint in his own body, and then they bargain on the foreskin. So, but this is coming more from Abraham. And not only is coming from Abraham, God tries to insist. It's like, what do you need this for? Okay, I tell you, don't do a statue, don't do a picture, don't do all these things. Okay, I give you my protection and I give you my guidance, and you don't have to sacrifice for me. And if you do sacrifice animals, then please, animals are not human, and also eat from that sacrifice. Maybe one sacrifice you have only for me, but please eat from that sacrifice. Don't slaughter animals. Even animals don't slaughter for no reason, okay? So whether we see it as Jehovah, okay, I'm using the name because this is the name of the God, or as various gods that were later unified to Jehovah, the essence is that us humans are the ones who asked for those things, those way more brutal way of worship that are not at all necessity or even desired by whichever form of the divine. And I wouldn't be surprised, including Luciferian. Okay? That's just something that I noticed. Yes, unfortunately, sacrifice, also non-ethical one, are being done for the sacrifice star, Deneb Algedi, and asking for its favors, okay? Because this is the planet that rules wealth redistribution. So depending on how, evolved the person is, and people are evolved in different topics in different amounts, okay? Then a person who doesn't know, okay, of the nature of the divinity, that doesn't need blood sacrifice in that way, or want that, might try to use the old ways, okay? Might try to sacrifice animals and even sacrifice people and children to try to get something from the god, okay? To get power, to get money, to get resources, to get oils, to get land, and so on and so forth. Clear water. But a person that was already exposed to teachings like, hey, you can use hibiscus, or secretion, or intention, or petition, or astrology, and corresponding herbs and stuff, and do the ritual, because it's more about collecting your intention to form a connection than probably anything else that, from the vantage point that we can understand as humans. And so it's the way we show, okay, hey, we want to, ET phones home, kind of like, but we are the ET. And so that is where we begin to tap into more upright. And we are also willing to learn and to receive a wisdom from Deneb Algedi about wealth redistribution, okay? And wherever tropical Aquarius is for you, in terms of the house, it's ruled by Saturn anyway, and wherever natal Saturn is for you, it's perhaps where you will encounter this, but also you can ask for Deneb Algedi's protection. It can assist you if you're going through litigation, okay, justice system, both by the merit of Jupiter and by the merit of Saturn. If you want to, if you need resources that you need access to, okay? So you see how wealth redistribution, this upright meaning of Deneb Algedi, is very much favorably meeting the Eris in Andromeda constellation, where we get the chance for Eris to be included. It's a rare chance. She's both in Andromeda constellation, and Andromeda is about reconciliation, Andromeda was kidnapped and saved from torture, by the way. Andromeda, and unfortunately, yes, we do see signification of kidnapping and torturing. It's true. So I don't want to, I don't want to ignore the mundane things that happen. I do want to inform that we can turn to every constellation, to every planet, and we can petition, and we can pray, and we can honor the things that it is ruling, okay? So we can discover a more upright way to work with this planet. Because also, even what we say of Eris, what we say of Deneb Algedi, is also the story that we as humanity or as astrologers tell about this planet. Okay? So there is this planet, and then there is the stories that we tell about this planet. And so when we turn to the planet, we get more informed. And in our own way, it's still within our filter. But at least we form a connection, a relation, a diet with it. So, the sextile, what is it good for? To include the underdog, to redistribute wealth in a way that is more inclusive. Okay? So, less people to have less people in this situation where they are so excluded that they don't even see a way into society, and they feel like they have to cause chaos and havoc wherever they go, to the point where it feels like the only thing left for them to enjoy is the misery of those who cause them this suffering and this ignorance and this, that level of seclusion. Okay? So, first of all, Deneb Algedi is in the sign of the person who is the scapegoat. And both the scapegoat and Eris have been excluded, okay? Just as the scapegoat is guided by perhaps the Deneb Algedi to achieve certain sort of fairness, and Eris tries to both avenge but also change. And this is what I think is not discussed about. We see as she's trying to avenge, she's trying to make a certain change. She has been so excluded from all resources that the upright ways to make change are something that was not accessible to her. Okay? And so in Andromeda, there is a chance to reconcile what seemed irreconcilable. And with Deneb Algedi, there's a chance to redistribute the wealth in a way that's more inclusive, thereby reducing and even avoiding a lot of the harm, the chaos, and the associated traumas with that. Okay? Of course, on a mundane level, we don't tap into this energy, we don't work with it, then what we see as manifestations, yes, we see people accepting, rape as a way to overcome colonialism, okay? When actually, in fact, the people that are raped and tortured are the people that would most wanting for you to have housing, to have a land, to have your nation or your state, and to have peace, okay? So, so this is also a little bit of a reality check, okay? You think that all these people are against you, but in the reality, a lot of them are not all against you, and you end up killing those who are against you while leaving those who are planning the whole thing still alive and running. Okay? So it's also where the meeting, when we have a discussion, and whenever the moon is on Deneb Algedi, there is a discussion. And so instead of this discussion to be students at Harvard spreading theories that are outdated and very partially correct about how getting the rage out of your body, let's say when you are rebelling against oppression, is conducive to healing from oppression, okay? Of course, getting angry, of course, setting boundaries, of course, speaking up, of course, yes, okay? Of course, not raping, of course, not torturing innocent people and children, of course, not saying things like there are no uninvolved civilians, okay? This is also when you protect yourself from that, okay? And so on and so forth. And so the more that we have a conversation, the more that opportunities and ways to redistribute wealth correctly and to go through the process of rather than avenging our lack of inclusivity, becoming closer to the plate, okay, becoming included in society to facilitate this, then the better the process will be, because the process is of enlightenment, okay? The process is of understanding that what there are people, and there is a part in each in our charts, there's a part in each and every one of us, and there's a part in each in our charts and each in our societies, people, the world globally, that have been severely not included. And as a result, we see a lot of damages, okay? And those damages becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until enough people deal with that to turn over a certain ruling paradigm regarding society, policies, economy, and so on and so forth, okay? We always have to ask ourselves the question, okay? If for a very long time so many homeless people die in the street, eventually you will, each and every one of them has a wish. If only it was warmer and I would stay. If only if it was, I could be both warm enough and safe. Okay? How can this be? Well, COVID, winter shelters. There's a pandemic, you spread disease. Now, what's better if this pandemic is not as big as they say, and what the people die is the complication of both the virus that they spread and the so-called medicine that they give, okay? What better way? If they, so that you don't spread disease, we're going to put you in a place that is both warm and safe. And if, God forbid, you get sick, then you have to be alone in the room. And yeah, they have to provide you with the meals, okay? And this is a part of what happened in COVID. Oh, there is climate change. And this is also true. And so for Eris and Deneb Algedi, when they meet together and when each and every one of us stands to this, then we get the insights. Okay, what's going on, the connections that are not so comfortable for us to make. For a person to make good decisions in their life, they need space, they need the food, they need validation, they need to be included in society. All these things are true. Okay, all these things are true. Yes? And when a person is doing such terrible acts to another person, because this person has been not included, in many cases the person who is getting hurt is not at all in charge of things. And if that's not enough, the damage is so much so that the other person can't recover. Or it's not they can, sometimes they can recover, but it's now they are feeling, it's kind of like the pandemic of exclusion. So how do we get out of this loop? When we get the moon conjuncting Deneb Algedi and sextiling the sextile to Eris, we get to evolve in a way that is more facilitated. Okay? And I want to share with you something that my banker told me. So before the war, you come to the banker, you get your money out, and then they ask you, do you want our credit card? And it's a direct credit card. It's not even a credit card. It's the postal office. And I had to explain every time that I ran away from someone that became during COVID. I don't blame them. They became a little bit of risky to me. And I had to flee. And so they sent the card to their place. So I had to cancel the card twice until they told me, oh, you have to only apply to where you're registered in the Ministry of Internal Affairs. And I'm like, well, that is a bit risky right now because I still, I don't know. There's things, I don't know if and also they don't really operate since COVID. So it's not really possible for me to get my credit. Not only that, it's not really possible for me to enter my bank account from the internet. So I have to go to the postal office. Okay, that was the situation. And I said, this is so crazy because the topic of, the topic of where somebody has to flee from a relation or this or that, and there is, economic sensitivity to that. This is not new. It's also beyond gender. Both it happens to men, it happens to women. If a person say, I want to walk out, I don't want to escalate this situation, I don't want to be on either side of the perpetrator victim equation. Okay, I walk out. Okay, now I still need credit, I still need money, I still need housing, I still need food. Yes, this is important. She would, and sometimes she would be like, well, what about work? What do you do for work? And, it's kind of like, I don't want to be too rude, but how can I, what about, you're my banker, you see what's going on, you see where does the money go? And if I have to walk out of violence again, even at work, you won't be providing me for housing. Okay, you may buy me one cell phone, which is benevolent. Okay, but you get the Swiss cheese here, and the Swiss is Switzerland. So the thing is that up until the war, nothing happened. So as I was going this month to withdraw my little bit of cash that was left for the end of the month, the bankers offered the same offerings with a different banker, different branch. And she said, well, but do you want our credit card? I said, I would like to, but I told her the story. She said, that was true. But now they changed it. Now you can just ask where to deliver. Now, why did they change this? Because half of our population in the south was evacuated because of the war. So now everybody needs their new credit card sent to everywhere. And now Shirley can get her credit card hopefully sent home. We don't know how it will go. If it really works like this, or if she thought it's like this, but you can see that before the freaking war, people were slaughtered, were tortured, or raped in mass, horrid things. Yes? A person that escaped violence because they didn't want to escalate things. Okay? I don't want to be a part of any situation, not as the victim, not as the perpetrator. I see situation escalate. I don't blame. I walk out. I step out of the situation so I can recover me and have space. Could not have a bank account access, could not have the credit card. Okay, I would use these credit cards that you have outside of the bank. and go to exchange. I'm not joking. This is how I would operate, because I just go, okay, I leave it and I let it change. And it took an entire war. And suddenly things change. Not only that, somebody was speaking with me. Behind the person behind me, we began to talk and something like this. And I think he asked me, what do I do for, she asked me if I work. And I say, well, right now is problem. And I told the person next to me, as we talk, I say, you know, every time I try to work, something happens. Now, this was true before COVID. I have Uranus in my 10th house. Okay? Before the war, if I would try to say that, it would be sounding like an excuse, although this is my genuine life. Okay? And heaven knows I keep trying. Now I didn't even have to finish the sentence, because of course there was COVID, and of course then there was the war. Okay? So I'm understood. Okay? This is something that we should tend to at times of peace. So we wouldn't have to wait for those horrid traumas to happen, so that certain people that were completely excluded from the discourse, so much so that they thought, what's the point? What's the point? Okay? Suddenly, you don't even have to finish your sentence. Of course, you're understood. You're included. Okay? And so this process doesn't have to go through a world war. And when we have moon sextile in Eris is when we get that. If we tap into it, or moon trine in Eris, we get that. And when the moon is now sextile in Eris from Aquarius, when it's conjunct in Deneb Algedi, now we get the time where we tend into it is more accessible to contribute to wealth redistribution in a more inclusive way. And this is a very important time, because we are going through a lot of conflicts worldwide, and the aspects between the moon and Eris are where a person can be ahead of their time, because the moon is drawing in something and Eris is taking 500 years to surround the zodiac. It's very it's not just an intergenerational planet, it's an era planet. Okay, the era of Eris in Eris has been since the 1920s, and that is already 100 years. So we're talking about a century. So when you tap into Eris, you're tapping to the wealth of centuries. Mundanely, moon is nation and peoples. So the wealth of nations and the wealth of peoples as well. Okay? And so with the sextile to Deneb Algedi, we have, amongst the things that we see in the world, there also is ability for a lot of good to be tapped into and to be more included in society. Okay? So some of it, unfortunately, is because, hey, now everybody has been evacuated, so now you can send your credit card to where you live because of that. Okay? But it doesn't have to be that way. It's where our intention meets the opportunity and innovates together. Okay, our intention meets innovation, and there definitely is innovation. We know that necessity is the mother of innovation, but innovation has not only a mother, it also has a father and a sister and a brother and a sister-in-law and a brother-in-law and friends and colleagues, and we're all a part of that innovation. You don't have to be the mother. Okay? You know, innovation is not just by necessity. And when the moon is sextiling Eris, even if we have, like me, a natal moon that's squaring Eris, or like you're way ahead of your time, but you don't even notice, or you're not that much ahead of your time as you assumed, is actually coming way sooner than you thought this time. And this kind of like, I have an intuition, no, this cannot be, kind of a thing. And it can be both with scientific revolutions, it can be both with societal revolutions, and social activists and so on, changing the way things are done worldwide. And so we definitely want this to be in alignment with being inclusive, with wealth redistribution, and to come in a way that is less of a crisis way. Because right now, Eris is still in the orb of squaring Pluto, which is a crisis. Okay? So, yes, Pluto is about great wealth, the great wealth of Capricorn. A lot of people, they say, I've worked very hard for this all my life, and so on and so on. And then become this Eris that's been like, yes, but you have been neglecting me. You have been sacrificing my life here. Okay? And so when we tap into this, the Eris from a sextile point, which is available for all of us, because all of us have an Aquarius. All of us have a Deneb Algedi. All of us have a point in our chart from which it is more facilitated to turn to Eris in a way that's more accessible. And so that is something that we need to understand, okay? So that is, how should I say it? Those are the times that we want to be attentive. So when the moon is at around 23 degrees Aquarius, at this time is where we can get the best of these energies. Some of you might want to even go as far as try to have an election to have a talisman that includes both of them. And I believe it would be good to include Deneb Algedi, okay, so the actual sextile moon, moon conjunct Deneb Algedi and sextile Eris, because again, we want to approach Eris not only from a favorable harmonic place, but also to include her, and for that we need wealth redistribution. Okay, to include Eris, we need wealth redistribution. To house all the people, we need to both understand where to take land from, not to like slaughter people, okay, for no reason, and even the wrong ones, okay, the ones that want you to have a house the most. So you don't want to kill them, right? You don't want to take their houses. You want to be, you maybe don't want to be living next to them, okay? But also there is a conversation here that has to be, and this is about wealth redistribution, so that we can include Eris, that we can accommodate for Eris. Okay, for example, I would probably do good if I had the budget to every video I record to, let's say, give it to a person that makes sign language. So it would be more accessible for people who cannot hear my podcast and need to see something visual, okay? But I need money to do that. So there would have to be wealth redistribution for my channel to be inclusive of people who are sight impaired and would have difficulty of hearing and are able to see. Okay, so sign language. Yes. If both is the case, then we would need someone who have sensory abilities, so to have it like in a sensory way, and that would also need to be facilitated. So it's like I don't have that kind of money at this point. Okay, I can set intention to have this so that I can be accessing more people and be inclusive of more people when I broadcast. Okay, so that is very, very important to tap into these energies, because we are going through a lot of crises that at the root of which is lack of inclusivity. Some people have been so far off the plate that the existential gap between those who are closer to the plate and those who are not, and it's within each and every one of us, there is a little bit of an Eris, and it's approaching different people from different angles. Okay, so some people, for example, I had a Facebook friend. I had to save my sanity, so I needed to take space. But that they were very successful in their profession and so on and so forth. And I don't know where it came from. Maybe their colleagues and everybody were betraying them at the situation, and they really were at this tremendous downfall. And they tried to go to psychologists, they tried to go to healers or shamans, or probably even astrologers. And they were betrayed by people, and just as they were on the brink of like breaking through, and their understanding that the psychiatry and tagging and even psychology and even astrology has been used to tag people out of their shine, which should not be, and humanly happens, unfortunately. But they do not understand why people cannot just work at the pizza and get over with it, okay? Because that's what she does. And so I suspect that this person has a lot of healing teachings actually to give, okay? How they recovered from boundary violation and stuff like that. How do they no longer dissociate and all these things. And they just go, okay, swim, and so on. Okay, when you go to a public swimming pool, you run into the tubes that you want to. So they probably actually have a deep teaching that they should be delivering, but after they've been so betrayed by all these types of people, then they feel like, oh, I want to annihilate the entire profession of talk therapy and psychiatry. So that the new world will not have that, but the blind spot is like, okay, what will people work in when they can't, like Hitler, they can't be an officer, okay? You don't want them to be a world dictator either, okay? They can paint nature and some nice buildings, okay? They can probably do other stuff, and I think Einstein had more of an insight, and if we learned one thing from Einstein, then that is so important, is that everybody has their genius. It's not about Einstein being there. This is why when I say, oh, I have this aspect like Einstein had, I don't mean I'm genius like Einstein. If we learn something from Einstein, it's that everybody has their genius, okay? But you need to lie under a tree, or you need to swim, or you need to dance to receive and develop your talents and act on them. Then just today I was reading from a famous author in Israel, and she was writing book after book after book after book after book. And so this woman had what was called eating disorder. And she tried this and she tried that and so on, and nothing helped. And eventually she managed to find her way. And this way was more concentrating on her passion in life and being creative and so on. And she was speaking with someone recently, and that someone had eating disorders, and she went, the author herself went through both anorexia and bulimia and like overeating, binging, all of that. So trigger for that, yes. I tried to bring in the triggers, but I don't remember all of them, so yes. But the thing is, triggers inclusivity, somebody to have to filter my content and put the triggers right. That would also help me be more inclusive, especially with the type of people that I speak up for. So the thing is that she was speaking with another woman who was going through this, and as they were speaking, she's not speaking as any health consultant, anything like that. That girl, of course, began to go through the journey, and this author just encouraged this young woman to express her creativity and true talents and passion, and that girl recovered from eating disorder as well. And so I couldn't help but thinking that every book, and there were dozens of them, okay, she's younger than me. I'm not 40 yet, and she wrote, I think, tens of books in her life. And I can't help but thinking that every book was her recovery, and how with the books were inside the body, and then as she was tending to her well-being and being creative, she expressed herself, and book by book, she got out of it. So there's a little tip for people who are dealing with eating disorders. And so, you know, when we understand that people are having different blind spots, and we can honor both ourselves and take the distance if we need to take the distance, even if it's people that care about us and we care about them. It's more important to not cooperate with toxic dynamics and not to be a part of them, okay, either. So if I felt I'm being toxic, I'm becoming toxic, so I withdraw myself and take what's in, you know, the opportunity that's in my power to take up space and to take my space, and not as punishment to the other person, but as saving my own sanity. So that is also important. And this is a time where we can get all these insights, is to be inclusive. So the situations where the wealth is redistributed arise. And this is so important that when we are meeting opportunity with preparedness, we're basically succeeding. And in this case, being included is basically being ourselves, doing us, because Eris in Eris is about doing you, authentically, respectfully, and shining. Okay, this is Eris is where the sun exalts, actually, because we shine when we're doing us, right? When you're doing you, you're shining. When I'm doing me, I'm shining. And so that is more facilitated right now. So this is not to take away from the horrors that happen, but actually to pay attention to the opportunities that arise when they arise, and whenever the moon is sextiling Eris or trining Eris, those opportunities arise. Whenever the moon is conjuncting Deneb Algedi, the opportunity for wealth redistribution, to be more inclusive of Eris, arises as well. Okay, yes, on mundane level, we see chaos, but there are also other things we see even on mundane level. So changes, opportunities, understandings, eurekas. Oh, we have not been seeing that. Oh, I was not thinking about that. Oh, I'm talking about, you know, I don't know. Whereas willing consent is like, oh, okay, space allows people to have willing consent. Okay, having their space, having their land. We're thinking about people wanting their olive trees, okay? People in the city having access to one-story houses with land and olive trees, experiencing that which you want to experience as well, so they get what you're talking about, not by crisis and torture, but actually by, hey, those people, they never had these olive trees. They never had this connection with the land that you have. They don't understand in their one-story apartment, in the one-room apartment in the city, in the pollution, having no money to move out because they are working in the city and dependent on that. They don't understand what land, what olive trees. They don't know what you're talking about. They never had this. Okay, and those that do, they want you to have this more than you know, most of them. So many, many more of these opportunities are opening up to this opportunity. And now let's begin to pay attention. When is the moon in Aquarius? So let's take a look at this month. And this month is already February, okay? When is the moon? So the moon ingresses to Aquarius February 8th. And we're going to go a day forward. I believe, let's see. Yes, so we are talking about between February the 9th and February the 10th. We're going to be having, and you're going to have to adjust the time, the moon conjuncting Deneb Algedi and sextiling Eris. So let's go 6 hours back. Yes, so probably a couple of hours back, and we have the moon right where we want it. And so this is one date. So it would be Saturday for me, 10th February. Let's try and catch the time. And a little bit earlier in the morning. So this is the exact one, but this is already maybe 1 hour back. If I wake up really early, then I can catch the moon in Aquarius. And it's a new moon. Okay, it's after a new moon. It's a growing moon. A sextiling Eris that you don't see here, but is sextiling Eris. And this is happening. The moon is in the second house, with Eris being in an angular house in the fourth house. So this is compatible. This can even be an election to do consecration or to do something magical. And the moon is the moon does separate from the sun and applies to Saturn. And right after that, it will be applying to Jupiter, but then we kind of like are not at the angle. So the moon also applies, is separating from a sextile to Venus as well. But it does apply to Saturn. So it's not the best thing for like a magical election. But you want to see if you know more on how to make improvements on this. Because it is also like separating from Venus but applying to Jupiter, but it needs Saturn in conjunction first. So we can't ignore this either. And this is ascendant ruled by Saturn, which is not okay, because this is Deneb Algedi, and Deneb Algedi is ruled by Saturn tropically and sidereally. It's the nature of Jupiter, and Jupiter here is right on the IC. But okay, this is one thing. Maybe you can play with this a little bit. But definitely you can make, if you have like a intention or invocation that you do, then this is appropriate time, I believe, to do so. Okay, it just might not be a talisman, but absolutely appropriate time to do so. 10th February for me. You have to make sure. Yes, and by the way, I do get this postal that they are putting my new card. So let's hope they send this to the right place. I can update you. So, and let's hope they tend to this also at times of peace. So it's very important. So this is February 10th. Now, of course, we want to go 28 days forward. I don't think we have the 28 days. We can go 1 month forward to the next time the moon is making this. And now let's go 2 days back, because this is okay. Not 2 days. We go 12 hours. Yes. Boom. So this is the moon applying, a little bit earlier, the moon applying to Deneb Algedi as well. And this is 8 March, Friday. This is a Friday. Right here, like is Saturn being on the descendant. So we might go an hour back. And this we have, well, it's very interesting because we have the midheaven applying to Algol, the ascendant applying, of course, to Regulus, but yes, not tight enough of an orb. It's not a talisman orb, it's kind of like an invocation orb, which I will mention soon something about. Venus is on the descendant. Venus is the ruler of the 10th, and she's angular. With the moon applying here, so we have quite a beneficus. Venus is separating from Deneb Algedi. We might get this Venus applying to Deneb Algedi. It would be quite favorable if we get that one, because Venus is connections and Deneb Algedi is wealth redistribution. So for example, you might laugh at me, but you think about people who have been involuntarily celibate, okay? But also being excluded from connection and compassion and not really knowing how to do this, then Venus with Deneb Algedi can have these people, and sextile in Eris is very favorable. They might petition to be included and to have connection and to have love, basically, if this is what they desire. Okay. And so, because Aquarius in general is appropriate for long-term relations, it's very friendship-oriented sign. Okay, it's not so much casual flings type of thing. Although if your karma was that you did not enjoy like physical sex, and you can ethically enjoy physical sex too at this time, but it's more associated with friendship and love. And kind of like a fixed relationship of whichever commitment style is usually unusual, not because of monogamy, not monogamy, it's kind of like the way that it is expressed is different, then that can be very appropriate. Okay, so if you find it difficulty to find love or to find relations, or if you have difficulty maybe with your appearance or with your money, okay, or something like this, or to get a driving license as well, because Venus rules cars, and you've kind of like you're not being included for some reason, this is a very good time for you to petition. We have both the Venus and the moon with Deneb Algedi, so it's going to be Venus, moon in Aquarius, with sextile in Aries. Wow, lovely. Yes, there is this. Well, Mars is co-present. It is a separating aspect from Mars, but Mars is co-present, so it's not like talismanic quality. Although we might get Mars far enough from Venus. Let's see. Well, as for the moon, yes, as for the moon, yeah, this is about where we can begin, but the moon is still square, releasing from the conjunction with Mars, so we want it closer, at least 2 degrees closer. Again, it's not talisman quality unless you want Mars in the mix, which can be weird, okay? And so I wouldn't mess with that. But if we go, let's say, a day back and another day back, we get Venus on the Deneb Algedi. Yeah, the moon will not be approaching Venus here. So let's try to take it a little bit further. But then she's, I think, losing orb. Wait. This is the moon will be sextiling from Sagittarius, and we can call in both. We can try. Because Venus is 3 degrees away, and this is a fixed star, and kind of losing our orb here. But we can try to petition here. This is, oh, and the moon will be trining Eris as well. So I do prefer when we work with Eris, again, because she has caused such chaos that was like uncontrollable, and moon in Sagittarius is like grand, Jupiter ruled. I do want the accommodation for her. Okay, so think about you just receiving a person that has been through intense trauma, and they are triggered by things that they cannot predict and you cannot predict, and you're like, oh yeah, let's house them in my room, and it's like you don't know what you're bringing home just yet. Let's accommodate for them. Let's build them a house that they can have, let's make sure we have the facility to be there for them, make sure that that they are having an easier time being integrated into society. Okay, you think about, even I always think about pets. So you think about, you take a pet from a shelter, and this pet went through trauma and abuse. Okay, so they can be very scared, but they can also attack because they feel threatened. Okay, if you have little children, so you do want to have the training. You do want to do it slowly. You do want to integrate so that they can be included and not be abandoned again. Excluded again. And this is the same with Eris. We want to accommodate for her. Wealth redistribution is important for this accommodation because this is what she's been excluded from. Okay, also being included in society. You can think about Aquarius as community and Eris being excluded from that community. So here is where she gets to be reintegrated. Want to accommodate for her. I do want it with Deneb Algedi. But you can, of course, tap into Eris from the trine with, from Sagittarius. It will be more of a philosophical affinity, understanding. Yes, that is lovely, and you can absolutely do that. Do kind of make sure that you're affirming the right things, okay? Because it's not about affirming torture and stuff like that. It's about understanding where it stems from and interfering in the interference points so that Eris is included in a way where it doesn't have to get to this point where those things are done in the name of liberation, or it's actually not conducive, not to Eris, not to society. So yeah. As for Venus Deneb Algedi, I don't think we're getting an exact one. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can try, see if it works for you. And this Venus will be squaring Uranus, okay? So anything that goes around the 19 degree, 20 degree, the moon also will be separating from a square to Uranus. So there is something Uranian, there's something disturbing. I am not worried about this because there is Deneb Algedi and there is Eris. And it's a separating aspect. We are still within the Uranus realm, okay? It's still happening. But I am not worried about this. You want to make sure you understand the you-ness of it, okay? I'm an outer planet girl. I wouldn't do an applying to Uranus, but I like Uranus. for bringing in eurekas. I understand the importance of Uranus. I like, everybody has their own point of view about that. So I do look at outer planets, as you have noticed. But you have to understand that you cannot get the Deneb Algedi without being squared to Uranus. Those people that do it, like Christopher and Warnock, are not even paying attention to this. They're working with the 7 traditional planets, Renaissance astrology.com, if you want to do it like or learn from Christopher Warnock how he does that. And since I've mentioned this, it's also a good time to stop and say a practice that and I can't say adopted because I don't do it with the intensity that he does, but inform myself from Christopher Warnock, is this: whenever the ascendant or midheaven applies to conjunct a fixed star, or if you want to be modern, also an asteroid or planet, this is where you can do invocation of the planet, maybe light a candle, and this is something you can do every day, and then you form a relationship with this planet, and this allows you to receive the benefit, okay, to grow the connection and learn and develop with this fixed star or planet, or whatever you choose, and that can be a great way to connect. I would add that you want to be looking at the skies, and whenever you are outside and you're kind of looking at the skies and you see a star shining, okay, you're going to do the following thing, and this is what I do. And I'm going to get an app like Stellarium or any similar app, and I'm going to point the cell phone here to the sky. And what's in front of me? So I have Cephus, and trying to see which one of y'all is. So we're close to Alderamin, but I'm not sure it's rising. And then I can try and go here, if I can do it. Okay, I see that I need to. Yes, we also have like which culture we are using. Fine, use, and then I go a little bit up, and you can see the sky. Let's go here. So we have Mirak, Mirfak, okay, which I can learn about, and a little bit. Just go here. I keep doing this. And I think it is already Capella, but I'm not sure. I have to do it again. I will learn to use my tools someday. So we have Kaf, Shehar, Gamma Cassiopeia, so Cassiopeia constellation. And this is where we can begin to learn about the planets that surround us, okay? And as they are rising, you can learn about them. And if you already know what the planet is and what they mean, for example, I've had Vega rising every night, rising above me. And I didn't know too much about Vega. I knew artistic stuff. And later, only a couple of months later, after she's no longer rising the way she did, I would see that I was lying on the soil, watching the moon and watching Vega while she was rising. And she was also protective from nightmares and people who kind of try to psychically attack you in your dreams. And that was something that I was coping with. So she was helping me, and I was intuitively doing that. And only in retrospective can I thank Vega for her protection and blessings and artistic ability and psychic protection that she provides. So, and also thanks Christopher Warnock for the information that he provides for the talismans. So this is another way in which you can approach the skies. And this connection is just, first of all, you're exposed to something, you're attending. It's kind of like a nervous system. Those lights are lit. And if you adopt the view that there are beings there that are also in correspondence with you, then you understand that you form a relation with those beings. And if you're like me and you're recovering from relational trauma, then you can be authentic, okay? You can tend to this planet and you can say that and with your intention. And if this planet can assist in that, like the moon that's shining on us, the full moon, then yes, then you can turn to the moon. And if the moon is shining, you see it almost every night, and you can turn to the moon to assist you with that every night. Okay, you can tend to that and form that relation. The moon is the relational planet, so absolutely. Now let's go to next month, and this is already April. And this will probably be 15 April. Yes, a couple of hours back. And more hours ago. Yes. So this is the moon. Oh, wow. We get the moon on the ascendant. So we can play a couple of minutes with this because we're going to have the moon on the ascendant with Deneb Algedi. This is good for protection, okay? It's another thing I learned from Warnock is we don't want the moon on the ascendant unless we want to use it for protection. So let's say if Christopher Warnock was doing Algol talismans, it would be okay for the ascendant and the moon to be together on Algol. Because we want to protect, okay? So we want to shield from malefic attacks. And so it's kind of like, yeah, we're working with an energy that's sort of malefic in the sense like Saturn and Mars are malefic. It's kind of like we're defending, we're setting a shield, setting a boundary. So this one is very good for shielding. But the moon, again, is also separating from a square with Jupiter. So this is where it's not like talismanic quality, but it's a great time to definitely petition and invoke and ask for protection. And the square to Jupiter can actually increase that protection, but I would not try it on a talisman without being more informed, which I'm not. So I would not try it on a talisman. If you know more about this, then you can try and see, because a hard aspect to Jupiter is basically kind of like increasing the protection. If you do want to kind of like tap at Jupiter in Taurus, it is conjuncting Uranus in orb. It is in orb to conjunct Uranus, and Mercury is retrograde. Mercury is retrograde in Eris. But again, if you're traditional, you don't care about no Uranus, and you can absolutely just do Moon conjunct Deneb Algedi and square Jupiter. Okay, it's not really traditional, but you know, you get, it's kind of like you're still working with the traditional planets. If you add in the Eris factor, then the moon is sextile in Eris, but is also sextile in a retrograde Mercury here. So this is not like talismanic quality, but definitely if you have something to communicate, because Mercury is retrograde, so you can kind of invoke or petition or ask to deliver the message and understand the messages, or communications or contracts or anything that's of exchange of energy in a way that is more inclusive and to accommodate for those that, for the uninvited sozusagen, with communication, with contracts, with exchange, without technology as well, because Mercury is technology, and so on and so forth. Those things are important. And for the square with Jupiter, so you can say, okay, this is a good time to have a Jupiter Taurus, to try the Jupiter Taurus, or to even try the Jupiter Uranus. Okay, if you want to work modernly, you can also try at Jupiter Uranus, but because it is a square, I want to meet the outer planets with a sextile or a trine. Why am I saying this? Because yes, if you're doing like a talisman, your a hard aspect will make sure that the moon is bringing in the energy of that planet. That being said, I much want you to bring in, to tap into, because if you're doing a ritual, you are invoking, you're calling in the energy, okay? Don't worry about that one, okay? Worry about what angle are you bringing this energy from. And if you want to call in Uranus, you want to be in a good harmonic, because Uranus is shocking things. So it's the same shocking event, you can be meeting from a receptive place, which is a harmonic aspect, or you can meeting where is sudden eureka that rattle that, razzle dazzle you. Okay, I want Uranus and Taurus from a Venusian, from a pleasurable aspect, from a sextile, from a trine. This is how I want to meet that. Definitely. And I do want to add another thing, is that according to Nicola Stoyanovich, the 18th degree is a malefic, it's a poison degree. Okay, so again, okay, I might want Jupiter to get a little bit away, or maybe I would go for maybe the moon in Pisces, but this is already getting off track from the topic of this episode. And so, yes, we get a petition, we get an invocation. I believe we do not get a talisman quality, okay, because of the square to Jupiter. To me, the square to Jupiter is going to make things very big. And again, when I'm working, even with Deneb Algedi, okay, I'm not saying it's not good, but I don't know enough about this. You might be having a second thought, okay, that's fine. I'm only learning about this topic of like doing talismans and stuff like that. So this is my thoughts. You have other people that do that for decades. I don't see them doing Eris stuff just yet, but I may have been probably have been one of the first that has done a Sedna in Gemini. And why am I saying one of the first? Because there is only one another person you haven't thought about that's doing that, or that you don't know about each other. But with Sedna really ingressed into Gemini, was taking water from the sea, and it's like nobody has been doing that before, because Sedna has not been in Gemini before. So nobody has been doing anything of Sedna Gemini quality. And so I may have been one of the first in the entire cosmos to do that. As for Eris, as far as I know, I am the first who captured Eris captured Eris is a very funny thing to say, but to invoke the energy of Eris into talismanic materia for my personal use. So probably I'm not the only one. We usually don't have one person. So we're a nervous system. Okay, we usually don't have one person that makes the scientific discovery, that this, that. And not only that, there are probably a lot of more people thinking about it. It was like, should we do it? Should we do it? And they didn't do it. Okay, so I did do it. So so this is where I can say, from the very limited time that I've had this energy of the Deneb Algedi's conjunct moon sextile Eris, I am very, very, very grateful that I did that. I'm very blessed. And yes, this is what I have to say. Okay, this is my nugget of wisdom. But this is one person who's has been paying respect to Eris for a while now, has been having moon square Eris in natally, and so on and so forth. So I also talk about this. Okay, it's not just one day I woke up and I did a talisman. Okay, so yes. Now let's go 1 month forward, and we are already in May 5th. Uranus is still on the 22nd. It's gonna be on the 22nd for my birthday, granted that okay. Granted that I'll live. It's gonna be on the 22nd on my birthday, just the day after. So we take, the moon is now in Aries. Let's take it a couple of days back. So yes, this is May 2nd. And I'm having a Venus return week as well, along with the birthday week. So the moon is going to be sextile in Aries, but then it's already going to be sextile in Chiron, which is okay. I just want to know that it happens, okay? Chiron, yes, Chiron is an asteroid. It's supposed to work with conjunction. I don't know. Like, okay, when we are invoking, and you might want to see that, first of all, the fact that Chiron is meeting the moon in the sextile is not bad. We can reap a lot of benefit from tending to the Chiron wound, from a place where we are more receptive to the medicines that this wound offers, okay? Or the tending to this one offers, okay? So that is something you want to keep in mind. And other than that, the moon will be squaring a 22-degree Uranus and a 24-degree Jupiter. Jupiter is going to be conjunct in Algol. Mind you, Jupiter magnifies things. Jupiter conjunct in Algol, I don't know. I never tried this. Is this the time to do Jupiteris? I don't know. I'm not saying it cannot work. I'm just saying that Uranus is going to be on the degree of to kill and be killed, revolution, stuff like that. So this is the one time where, yes, I would definitely like invoke Aries and pay attention and reverence and so on. But I don't know if I would mess with anything Jupiter. I would definitely tend to Algol, okay, maybe on the same day, and invoke Algol and thank her. However, I don't think that I would do anything of like talismanic lasting materia. It's way too sensitive of a point to do so. Yeah, the moon is separating from Mercury, applying to Venus, not terrible. Mercury is direct. So these are also things we're looking at, but this is the aspect before, was the aspect after. But again, because I know what I know about Uranus here, and because this Jupiter, if I call on Jupiter, it is next to Algol. So it's like I might as well pay attention to Algol. And I have no experience with Algol and Jupiter together. Why would we do that? Okay, I don't know. Maybe to protect children, because Jupiter is also children. protect from religious persecution or from rape because of religion, okay, like kind of like those people who have the philosophy that she was asking for it, so protecting from those things. Those are the things that come to mind. So you might want to divinate on that. We know the nature of Jupiter has also been a little bit not in alignment with the values of Algol. So we want to pay attention to that as well. I'm not saying it's impossible, but we definitely, want to set intention, want to see what we're doing, and so on. So this is May. And just one more month, where we get it this year. It's not just one more month. We get more months, of course, but it's just like I'll go as far as that now. So this is still in May, and this is 29th of May. Okay. What's with Moon? Moon is squaring Mercury in Taurus. There's a lot to be said about Mercury in Taurus. It's not as bad as it seems. Okay, some of the most prolific people and thinkers have Mercury Taurus and even Mercury retrograde in Taurus. However, Mercury is a fast planet. Taurus is a fixed Earth sign. And Uranus is going to be conjunct in Algol. Okay, if you want to mess with the planets, you might want to try a little bit of a more moderate times to do so. So note to self. And Chiron is going to be on the 22nd degree conjunct in Mars and conjunct in this Eris very likely. So yeah, this is invocation, yes. A petition to particularly Eris Deneb Algedi, yes. A talismanic materia, no. Not that I see here. Okay, even without the Uranus. So this is up to May. And again, every day when the midheaven and ascendant, you have astrosig.com, okay, you go to current planets, adjust your location, and you have it, okay? So whenever the ascendant or midheaven, this is taken from Christopher Warnock, is touching on whatever that you desire to touch on, and here I suggest it would be Deneb Algedi, and then from Deneb Algedi you invoke Deneb Algedi, and if you want to add the Eris in, so you petition to receive the wisdom of the sextile and how to use it correctly and how to kind of benefit from that, and also do charity, okay, do make sure that others are benefiting within your ability, and you want to be authentic, okay? If you don't feel like giving without expecting a return, then say, I'm not at a point where I feel like giving without expecting a return, okay? This is okay. So this is already my addition on the Warnock tradition here. So this is a way you could use this, but with Eris. And I would take it from Deneb Algedi and then calling on Eris, okay? Because you want to accommodate, the whole issue of including Eris is wealth redistribution, okay? So we want to not to say, hey, Eris, we see you, okay, which is something we should do, but also, hi, I'm asking for solutions here. I'm asking for opportunities here. That I'm asking for the teachings that are accessible here. for teachings to be more accessible for me to apply, or in a way that I can apply them, so to bring it from, the in the air theory stuff to actual steps that I can take, that accommodate both for me and my well-being and for that inclusivity as well. Now, I hope I managed to deliver just how special this configuration is and how benefic it is whenever we can tap into it, to do so, and how much magical times we get by doing so. And for each and every one of you, it's going to be expressing itself differently. So you can do your own videos, you can write your own art, you can tag me, and whenever I can absolutely comment on that or tend to that. So we get more of like an Eris inclusivity hashtag, okay? So you can do, include Eris hashtag. So that can definitely be a wave to kind of like correct things. So yes, or Eris is a planet. That can also be the case. I hope you have enjoyed this. Is this now where Jupiter? Okay, I'm uploading. Bye-bye.